younger students, and a lot of the content could be packaged. Again, we could reduce costs a very great deal. We also had a concept called extranet, where the students would give back in their own communities, because we've heard that in these communities no role models except the drug dealers and the people stealing cars, and so on. So Nelson Mandela always had this concept of, just like the youth broke apart this country and made it ungovernable so that we could end apartheid, the youth need to rebuild the country. So this is also intrinsic to what we believe in, is that every young person should be a social activist, should be a social entrepreneur. They must go back to their high schools and give back. So all of those things cost us no money, because the students can run the campus for no money. The older students can work with facilitating the younger students for no money. Students can work in the communities with no money. And we've trained over 500,000 youth in schools for free, just through our students going back to where they came from, teaching other young people. So these kind of models we've been thinking about, and then we've been thinking, well, how do you build buildings for free? So one of the things that we're now going to be attempting at our Nature Reserve campus is using the earth to build. We've now made everything green and off the grid. We want to really try this idea of how does every aspect of an education institution, how can you get it for free or for very little money? So that's where we first started. That was my first day. I was an actuary. I was 27 years old. I was earning over R1 million salary. I had the whole world ahead of me, and I was about to immigrate and go live in the States. And I bought my air ticket. I was 2 weeks away from immigrating, and then I ended up staying up all night one night, and I got extremely emotional about leaving this country. And I'm from a family of activists, and I was really, like, I would say either the black sheep or the white sheep of the family, because I was the only capitalist in my family. Everyone else wanted to, end apartheid, change this country, fight the police. My oldest brother lived in a township for 2 years, which was unheard of. My father was a gynecologist and an obstetrician. He insisted on opening his practice to black women, and that was unheard of during apartheid. White doctors, you only saw white patients. My father would only see anybody, colored, Indian, black women. 2 days of every week he would go work in the prisons, to go work with black women who had been thrown in jail just because they were black in the ANC, etc. So, and all that I wanted when I was young was to be rich and successful, and so on. And then at 27 made this massive life shift. And instead of immigrating in 2 weeks off to New York, I ended up here. And I joined this organization called CEDA. And I'd never been in a township. I'd never really seen poor people. Our family, when we grew up, were not wealthy, but I'd never seen anything like this. And started working in the schools. And the first thing that we did was, the organization CEDA had always focused on this idea of developing people from the inside out. And I really loved that approach. And I'd been meditating myself for some time. So we said, why don't we try and introduce meditation into schools? And at that time, you can just imagine how crazy people thought that was. It's the end of apartheid. There's desperate needs. Everybody needs books in the schools. They need properly qualified teachers. Why would anyone want to teach people to come and close their eyes in a school? And I remember the first principal that I went to go talk to, his name was Abner Madiba. He was in a school called Skian Primary in Alexandra Township. And Alex has about between 500,000 and 1 million people living in 1 square mile. So this is Alex. It's quite an extraordinarily compactified place. And 1 mile away from Alex is Sandton City and Sandton, which is like this huge economic powerhouse. And then 1 mile away, you've got 500,000 people living in a square mile. And so Mr. Madiba, when I explained to him about meditation, he said, I don't understand what you're talking about. So I said, he said, can you explain this again to me? So I started explaining it to him again. He stopped me like half sentence. He said, are you crazy? He said, I'd never do that in my school. He says, no one in my school does anything already. You want to institutionalize that they're going to do nothing. So he says, they're already doing nothing. You don't have to institutionalize it. So I said to him, look, just 10 minutes twice a day of structured doing nothing, quiet time, getting to know yourself within, you're going to see a massive change in the school. He said, never, 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 never. He'll never do this in his school. And then later on when we were discussing, he was going through a divorce, he was so depressed. But I'm just going to say, if you and the students would like to leave to go to your other activities, you're welcome. Good. So it turns out he's very depressed, and he says, okay, he'll try this thing because he's going through this divorce, his life couldn't get worse. About 3 weeks later, I get this picture from Mr. Madiba, not even a letter, a picture, and it's like the sun